of get a little understanding what's underneath all the skins they're looking at. So I'll kind of jump into that, and I'll pause them on those photos and let you comment however long you think you might want. And then I'll just kind of move along, and the first dome video will start up shortly then.
Sure. This is actually a model of our dome school that we put up in real time. The class is usually involved in that. This year was our first virtual dome school, and it went very well, and we may continue to offer that. At least I shouldn't say may. We're going to offer this again, only because it's quite a trip to get here. We're in the center of upper Midwest. You got to fly, you got to get a hotel room. There's 3 days involved. Yes, we'd love to have you inside the dome, and really that's why you're going to get the feel of the dome. But it worked very well in explaining our system and talking about all the different features we have. So that will continue. We will get better with our video stuff, and we've got some new equipment that we bought because we know we've got to go into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the individual parts of this system. And I don't know if you want to switch back to me, and I'll hold up some components that we've got here.
All right, Dennis, you're
Am I full screen now? I can't tell on my end. So this is the hub system. This is an aluminum extrusion that we have. And this is what we call a sleeve that fits over the end of the strut. And the strut is this framework that we have. So these two components, there's a slot in here, and this tongue, we call it right here, fits into that. So it slides in. Now this could rotate around, but instead, when you take a pin, which is a bolt, a hardened bolt, and you can lock these two components together. I can hold this together here. So the pin drops in here, and you pound that in. In the process, this sleeve is wedged into the hub, and it doesn't offer any rotation at all. It doesn't slide around in here. And you can go online. We've got a good video on this on our website. So these two parts are the main components of our system. They go, this is a sleeve that goes on the end of the strut, the framework. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit here. So this part of it, which is this is a 2x8, here's the sleeve that's bolted on. We actually make a wider strut. So we're dealing with something from here on the outside to the inside that's going to vary from just plain 2x8, which is what this is, up to 24 inches thick from here to here. This is actually an 18-inch strut. This is what is standard for us here in the upper Midwest. This, when we do a fiberglass system and it's vented, will give you an R64. That's the resistance number that's used for insulation purposes. We have some that are 24 inches thick. People have wanted that. That gets up to somewhere in the 80, maybe closer to 90, as far as what system that you're using. It depends on your climate zone. In the US, we have, in the continental US, we have 7 climate zones. Here in Minnesota, I know Carrie mentioned it was 100 degrees in Phoenix. This morning, we were looking at the thermometer outside, it said 34 degrees. So that's a little bit of a range here. We're on the border here where we are of zone 6 and zone 7. And that relates to not the plant zone, but the climate zone. And we're in a wet section of the country. That's the eastern about 2/3 of the country is a wet zone. The other is a dry zone to the west. So that's where we change the thickness. Sometimes we're doing the foam insulation. Sometimes there'll just be a 2x8. Usually that's not enough unless you use foam and you're farther south and don't need the higher R value. And we're saying 60 is a minimum in the upper Midwest, upper half of the country. The code requires a 49 for the R factor. And we say add 11 to that. So this system is all what's holding the dome up. You can come to dome school, we'll really talk about the detail of it. There is another part of our system, it's this wider sleeve. So we have a regular sleeve, and then we have this wider, bigger sleeve. This is for high snow load regions, heavy winds, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquake zones. We'll use this. We call this the ultra lock. We call this just the super lock. Fits into the same hub, goes in there. Pin is bolted in, this is bolted on. So there's a lot of things that we do that are changes. I am holding up this red hub. We have the plain aluminum hub, but because our steel parts are epoxy coated, there's no reaction between the aluminum and the steel. So I think from a standpoint of just the general explanation of that, you may have some questions you can ask, and we'll get to some detailed questions if you want to find out more. So Derek, continue on.
All right. Let's see. You got me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here you see the pin being bolted in. And you're doing this up on the scaffolding. That pin connects those two components. We've done the testing on this, and with that, we have a minimum 150-pound snow load and a minimum 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We actually have a dome that went through the derecho, if that's how it's pronounced, down in Iowa that came through here about a month or two ago, and not a shingle was lifted off of the dome. Probably relates partly to the type of shingle that we use and the person that was putting on the shingles, but it shows you that the dome is going to take, that was 140 to 150 mile-an-hour wind speed that was sustained for 20 minutes.
All right, Dennis, before we jump into the tour, we got one question kind of related to the struts.
Sure.
And the question was, on the exterior portion of the strut, is that the only one you need the 2x8 or also the interior, or does it just a 2x4 work, it looks like from the question?
Oh, good question. And really the inside 2x4 is simply there to hold the insulation. And if you're doing foam insulation, it's not even doing that. All it's doing is holding the interior panel. So there's no connection hardware needed on the inside. It doesn't add to the structural strength. It doesn't take anything away, but it doesn't add anything. So we only need that one set of connectors on the outside. That's where all of our testing was done. We actually discounted the panels on the outside when we did testing and snow load testing. Yes, you have to have the panels on to do a snow load test, but the reality is that we can put skylights in any of the triangles that we want. So that's a big part of it.
Okay. All right, we'll get going on the tour. One more question was regarding the small voids in the hubs. And they were wondering if they're left open or are they foamed to avoid insulation break? And yes, we do recommend foaming the hubs. Absolutely. So, all right, let's jump into this. There's gonna be a lot of questions. I'll try to keep us moving, Dennis.
I'll make one comment about that. Yes, we foamed the hubs, but the hub is set back 2.5 to 3 inches from the outside panel. So then we want to see that as an air vent if we have fiberglass insulation, and if we are venting the dome. Not all of our domes are vented. It depends on the climate zone. We don't vent down in the very far south because you're drawing in outside humid air. So.
All right. So this first dome is the Forest Dome, one of the domes on the complex. And this was originally Dennis's home. So I'm sure you'll have lots of good stories to say as we go through this. So here we go.
Yeah, the dome was built in 1975 with the big outdoors people system. This is the remodeled dome that you see here, done in 1983. So this is actually 37 years old. We've changed a few things in it, like the stove is now stainless steel, but basically the layout is from 1983. We've got 45-foot diameter dome on the level that you're seeing right now. There's an upper level. It's that's used to be the master bedroom, and that was then changed to the lower level. So the dining room is open above, stairway goes down, and at the lower level, it's a 46-foot diameter dome. You can see the drop in the triangles on that picture right there. So it's a combination 45 low and a 46 mid. Mid profile means it's the equator of the dome. There is a fireplace, again, outdated fireplace, but the one we have in back of me that's burning has gasketed doors, and it's sealed and it's outside air. As I mentioned, skylights can be placed anywhere in the dome. And this one has a hexagon grouping in the living room, plus other skylights. They're actually, counting the downstairs windows, there are 19 skylights on this dome.
Okay. As long as we got a little break here, another question was, how many arcs are needed to build the dome? Or acres, I'm sorry.
How many what?
Acres are needed to build the dome. I don't know if they're talking for usage of, you know, sometimes they'll measure acres for your usage of resources.
Yeah, it would depend how that question was really asked. From the standpoint of space required, we have domes sitting on 50-foot wide lots in Minneapolis, South Minneapolis. There's a dome down there. The lot was 50-foot wide. We put a 36-foot diameter dome on that lot. This is a cupola in the Forest Dome. There's no floor below it, but this certainly adds a lot of light, and it's where the air inside is ventilated. The air that you breathe is going to go out those windows when you open them. There's stuff we can get into later on relating to air-to-air heat exchangers, which are required here in Minnesota and 3 or 4 other states. It should be required in all new housing. There's a view from the loft down to the main floor, down to the lower level, which is a walkout. And there are 2 bedrooms down on that lower floor, plus a lot of space. There's part of a crawl space down there too, under the kitchen and the bathroom and bedroom on the main floor. This is really a 70s bathroom. It's got the yellow sinks and the blue tile and foil wallpaper on the panels on the outside. The shower's fairly new, from probably 15 years ago. This is redwood that you're looking at there. It's from a brewing vat from the Greenbelt Brewery in Minneapolis. So we used it for framing all these different parts of the bathroom. And the brewing vat is from like 1898.
You guys got a lot of use out of that.
Pardon?
I said you guys got a lot of use out of that material.
Yeah, it was a lot. It really worked, but we still have some pieces. So this is another bedroom that we have. It changed from the 1975 plan, which part of this was a laundry room. So we've made changes inside. It's very easy to do. The dome does not require any support inside, so we can change walls, which we have here in this dome. It's sort of a eclectic design from the standpoint of what it is. There's a lot of Santa Fe stuff that you see here, Mexican flavor. So the downstairs area is really the feature of this, is the master bedroom. And this was done in, like I said, in '83. So the whole bank of windows looks out on a river that's down below about 30 feet. It gets to be really nice this time of year because the leaves are gone, and we can see out and across the ravine to the other side. We have 50 acres here, so everything you're looking at and through the windows is part of the acreage. Yes, we can do curtains on windows. There are several ways to do that. We didn't here. So at certain times of the year, when the sun comes up, it's shining right into the bed. Kind of wakes you up at sunrise, which is kind of nice. The interior paneling on this dome is spruce, and it's 37 years old, and it has absolutely no finish on it whatsoever. Part of our camera entourage is a drone. So we're showing you some outside shots that Derek worked the drone very carefully through the trees. I'm not sure how he did it, but
a lot of trees to try to navigate. Before we go into the guest dome a little bit, I'll grab another question or two here.
Sure.
Are the windows conventional windows, or do you have to purchase specialty windows?
We actually manufacture the triangle, trapezoid, hexagon windows, skylights. We keep hitting ourselves over the head with this one. I call they're skylights. They are fixed. There's in the middle of your picture here, there's a rectangular window. These are Velux, and they are operable skylights. And if you don't have a cupola in the top of your dome, which has ventilating windows, then you want a Velux skylights around the top. This is to give you natural airflow through the dome. There's been a lot of people that we've remodeled their dome and added skylights, and their comment was, whoa, it's really warm in here. All the hot air goes to the top, or they got a fire going and it just goes right to the top of the dome. Well, there's some air circulation issues that you have to take care of. And certainly here in Minnesota in spring and the fall, boy, we like to open skylights and get that air moving.
All right. Kind of a similar related question was cabinets also, wondering about if there are special cabinets or if you could just use conventional cabinets.
If Tessa's ready, I'm gonna show, I'll just flip this over because this can answer some questions here. So this is our kitchen in the Bear Creek Dome. If you want to go to full screen.
Yep, you're on full screen.
I'm on full screen now? Oh, okay. So these are IKEA cabinets. We ordered them from IKEA, went down with our pickup truck and trailer, and came back with basically $6,000 to $7,000 worth of IKEA cabinets that were the kit type, and we put them together. Conventional, I'll call it conventional cabinetry. You can put cabinets on the outside of the wall. That isn't an issue. Yes, in some domes, if you did a low profile dome, they're going to slope in more. So we do compensation for it if you need cabinets on that outside, upper cabinets on the outside wall. So we don't use custom cabinets. You were looking at cabinets at Bear Creek at the Forest Dome, on the first dome we just looked at. Those cabinets actually were custom made cabinets because it ended up being cheaper. This is 1975 now, 1976. So it was cheaper to buy these custom cabinets. They were oak, tongue and groove oak doors, solid. So they were very competitive. These days, that's not the case. You want custom cabinets and they do cost you more, but it's rare, including the countertops here. These countertops all along here are straight off of IKEA. So they're 32 inches deep. So we have an extra depth on the cabinet, and you can put stuff along that and still have a workspace. The angles that were cut is just a miter cut. Instead of being a 90-degree corner and a normal cabinet in a square box kitchen with a 45-degree cut, so you cut 27.5 or 42 degrees or whatever it might be. It's not anything extraordinary. This island that we have here, the top of it is custom made. Again, some more of our 1890s redwood that was used, but the other side of it has IKEA counters, our IKEA cabinets, 3-foot sections. And the curve of it was very easy. We just came along to the curve and you just angle that inside edge of the cabinet. I mean, don't just place it at an angle, no custom cutting, no custom cabinets on the bottom part of this. One of the features we have here real quick is Tessa wanted an overhang on the kitchen side of the cabinet so people can sit on that side along with the overhang on this side of the cabinet. And as I've learned from that, that's what we try to do on almost everything, because we've had a lot of good meals here, conferences, meetings. This can seat about 12 to 15 people around the whole cabinet. It's about 18 feet long from one end to the other. But the top is the only thing that we made, and that was handmade here in our shops. We laid out a cardboard pattern and created this whole top out of 3 different kinds of wood. So, all right, that answered that question, I think.
All right. Okay, this next dome is also on the complex. It's we call it the guest dome, and it's a 30-foot diameter. And this one is actually connected to the previous dome you just saw, the forest dome, via the connection link you can kind of see in this photo on the left-hand side, opposite of the garage.
All right. So this is the entrance from the garage, plus a side entrance between in the hallway, coming into a 30-foot diameter dome. We're actually not in it yet in this hallway. So there's a master bedroom that's off to the side. It matches the width of the garage, which is basically a 26-foot deep garage. And the ceilings are a cathedral type ceiling. We didn't use trusses with a flat ceiling. Give us more air, more space. Double doors that look out into the living room. The dome was originally built in 1995 for my late sister-in-law. Since that time, we have added the stairway, the small stairway that goes upstairs to a kid's room. The bathroom is, this whole dome is handicap accessible. These are 36-inch doors. There's a walk-in 3.5 by 5-foot shower. The sink is open underneath for wheelchair access. The toilet has handicap bars on both sides. So it really it works very well. There you can see some of that. That's an off-the-shelf shower, 3.5 feet deep and 5 feet wide. Again, handicap accessible. It's what we do in all of our domes. I've got people that want to say, well, I'll put a 32-inch door thinking they're going to save money. When you go to the big box stores, 32-inch doors and 36-inch doors are the same price. Take your pick. Well, put in a 36-inch door. Bear Creek Dome here has a 42-inch wide entry door. We recommend that for a lot of reasons, both for safety, for the ambulance stretcher coming in, the hauling in the logs, a variety of reasons why you would want a 42-inch door. These are extensions on the dome. They go out about 3 feet. And there's a view down to the creek that's about 30 feet below. We're on the edge of a ravine with all of our domes. And we were able to do that because the code said you had to be, anything that was 30 feet or more above the creek had to be 30 feet back. And we had our surveyor come out and he measured about 28 feet. Dining area next to a window. We like to have the windows down at tabletop. It really makes a much better feel. The windows that we saw in the living room are down about a foot off the floor because the view is down. Way in the back of that photo is a screen porch dome, about a 25-foot screen porch dome. The kitchen extension is a little bit odd shaped because we worked around the pine trees. We surveyed the pine trees on the property before we laid the dome out, and the shape of the kitchen was based on the pine trees outside, working around them. They're actually built into the overhang of the roof. This encompasses about 1,000 square feet. I can't quickly translate that into square meters, but it's about I'm going to say 100 square meters. It's not quite a 10-to-1 ratio, but almost. Those are straight cabinets, but they're not really on a dome wall. So that's what you really can deal with. Your kitchen doesn't have to have all these cabinets on the outside wall. There are many inside walls for the kitchen to have straight conventional cabinets. This was remodeled a couple of times. This is an oak tree that actually fell right outside the living room window. And we rescued that, sent it to the local sawmill and did some live edge oak wood. We've used a lot of it around here. These are some small stairs geared for kids. There's actually 2 railings on here. One is a higher railing to meet code. The bottom one on the inside here is a lower kids railing to walk up the stairs. The kids' room is a cute little room. It's got room for a single bed, play area. We've got some windows that we use some glass samples for. There's an exit window. There's a window that these windows that you're looking at right here are panels of some tinted glass that we used, made operable windows out of it. So you can see there's quite a bit of space. I can stand up in the middle of it, but not on the edge of it. So. The paneling in this dome is cedar. I believe it's Western red cedar. It's been a while since we bought it. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a little bit darker than the spruce paneling that we use. This dome has 2 Velux skylights in the ceiling that open up for ventilation for the inside air. We use a pole crank with an extension to hook the window operator and crank it open by hand. Velux has electric skylights that open with a push of a button from a keypad. And they also have a solar powered electric window, so you don't have any electrical lines running up to it. The solar power is really a neat little trick that they've gone to. Decent sized kitchen, small, but that's all that my sister-in-law wanted. We don't have any, those of you that really kind of are into it, we don't have any hubcaps on this dome. It was all batten strips that covered the joints and were miter cut in the middle where they all join. Cedar doesn't shrink, so that's a big part of it. Here's a shot on the roof showing you one of the openings in the roof where the tree comes through. There's the outside of the Velux. This is a ventilation cupola. It vents the space of the strut system, the insulation system. So in this case, it's a 15-inch wall. Back in 95, that was our standard. So it's got 12 inches of insulation and a 2 or 2.5-inch ventilated airspace. And that ventilation cover, we call it, has an opening that takes the air out of that space.
Got a couple of questions before we move on to the next dome, Dennis. One was the kids' room upstairs, was that originally a cupola? Was one of the questions.
No, it wasn't. It was a space above the bathroom with a little overhang on those kitchen cabinets, and it was a storage area. We put a 8-foot step ladder up to it to get the winter things the county wanted to bring them down, or vice versa. In the summer, put some stuff up there. So it was just strictly used for storage. It was never really meant to be a space up there for use. And then after she passed away, we changed some things and made a room up there for kids. And I say for kids because the ceiling height is tight. This is a 30-foot low profile dome, and it's kind of rare to have another space above that. But we did a 7-foot ceiling in the bathroom to gain an extra 6 inches.
And then when we'll jump into this next dome, but since you kind of were talking about square footage earlier, somebody asked, how do you measure square footage of a dome?
Well, with our system, it's a little easier. The model number of the dome is the square footage measured to the outside of the wall. That's what all realtors do on conventional housing. So this one is a model 650. So the basic dome square footage is 650 square feet, approximately. The next model up that we have is a model 800. So that's 800 square feet. The rooms that stick out from it, you have to measure those rooms the standard way for measuring a room for square footage and add that on to the dome. It's often a case where if you let the assessor come along and try to figure out the square footage of the dome, either it's going to be low or it's going to be high. So we certainly can help him along, but a lot of times they have figured out square footage and they come back and we tell them they're wrong. So we prove that just by measuring it out. It's pi r squared. It's a real simple little formula to use for a circle.
Sure.
Not hard.
All right. This next dome also has some solar attached, which provided 100% of her required energy. And I want to do a more in-depth video on this dome and have it on our website because she's got a lot of really neat features. But as part of Dome Tour, we try to keep the videos fairly short so we can show you guys as many as possible. But stay tuned to naturalspaces.com because we're going to try to make a little bit more of a featured video because she has all kinds of stats on her solar generation, and she's got a lot of neat things to talk about when it comes to domes. So
this is a 33-foot high-profile dome. The model number here is 800. It's actually a 10-meter dome as far as the diameter. We set up this, some of these domes 10 meters and 13.5 meters when the US was going to go metric way back in the 70s, and then we never did. It's a lot easier to work in metric. This is the upstairs of a 33-foot high-profile dome. It's got a nice space up here. There's a bedroom and bath. The master bedroom and the master bath are upstairs. I don't know, this one is the upstairs bath or the main floor?
this is the upstairs. Yeah, all those tiles were made by her students, by the way. She's an elementary school teacher. So kind of neat. She liked how she could get light into the bathroom through that skylight by putting in the stained glass window just in the wall of the bathroom to kind of let natural light in there as well. So
there you can see the back where the shower was pushed back and part of it was coming down into the part of the dome was coming down into the shower. We do it a lot of times. You don't need that headroom on part of the shower, so you can kind of tuck it back in there. That works. This again is spruce paneling. It's our standard that we use. It's a really nice wood. This dome was built, I know Gloria is watching, I think it's mid 80s. I don't know if it was 83 or 85, somewhere in that range. She's got a lot of space in here. It's very neatly set up.
It feels a lot larger than it is. I think that's true with a lot of domes, though. If you were to look at the square footage of a dome when you're inside of it and then go into a conventional home of the same square footage, the dome always feels a little larger. So this dome is not that big square footage wise, but you don't feel that there was any compromises in the rooms at all. The bedrooms, the kitchens, the bathrooms are all roomy and more than adequate. So you can really fit a lot in a smaller dome.
Again, you see the deep walls at the skylight areas. The loft
Yeah, she has a lot of fun stories. One of them was her cats. She has a cat that actually uses the cupola quite regularly to go up there and hang out at night and stuff. So the cat has no problem getting up that ladder or the steep stairway, I guess. She's got 360-degree views from the top of the cupola, so it's kind of neat to be up there and be able to look out. She's got a very nice lot, so you got a lot of neat stuff to look out when you're up there. And this is the bottom of the cupola, the floor, just kind of looking into the dome. So it's when you're in the cupola, you feel it's a pretty neat space. You kind of open above and beneath, so it's kind of a neat, one of my favorite spots anyway.
I know Gloria had mentioned to me when we were looking at it, she liked the view that was across this marshy meadow area at the harvester silos across the road, the blue harvester silos, the farm country that she's living in south of the city down here. It's fairly open. There's Gloria right there.
Yeah. One question was any newer domes that they can see. This one's 2000 actually. So this one's not real old, 20 years old. Bear Creek Dome, which we'll have on at the end of this is that 12 or 14 years old, Dennis? 12?
Bear Creek is 13 years old.
13, okay. There's some more of those really cool tiles that were handmade. Again, you'll have to come back to Natural Spaces here in a few weeks and I'll try to get more information on them, but it's kind of a neat backstory to them. There's a couple of her cats. So really friendly cats, by the way. Pretty cool.
I know the dome in South Minneapolis, I've been there, and both the dogs, the small one and the large one, learned how to climb the ladder up to the stairs, really up to the cupola part. Stairways are tucked over here to the outside of the dome, but you got to realize that when you get up so high, the dome starts curving in. So it works well in a high profile dome. In a low profile dome, you have to really play with that stairway. Here at Bear Creek, we took the stairway and put it out in the extension. We try to do a large grouping of skylights that are going to be your main view windows. Spend your money on that part of it. The triangle skylights can be any size within that triangle. You don't just have one size skylight that fits in the triangle. There's probably 15 to 18 different sizes that we would have inside of that. Here you see a pantry up against the dome wall. It uses all that space. A high profile dome, for the most part, that first row is essentially vertical.
Yeah, I think maybe the comment on newer domes is because of maybe the wood interiors give it more of a rustic feel. But actually a lot of brand new domes even being built today will still incorporate the interior wood paneling, as it's just a lot of people prefer that option, and drywall is a little more complicated to install.
Drywall on the inside of the dome will crack at the joints. The batten strip that we have over that joint for the wood paneling hides the fact. If there's some shrinkage in there, you don't see it. If there's some movement, you don't see it. Sheetrock is, without a batten strip over the joint, is basically unforgiving. And we've got a couple of domes where the feedback from the owner was, this is how much it cost him to do a sheetrock interior. And then I went back to them and said, well, here's what it could have cost you had you put our triangle wood paneling in, which was cheaper, and something that an owner can do. We manufacture these triangle panels as a one-piece triangle panel. There's a backer down the center of each triangle on the back side that holds all those boards together.
Yeah.
Sheetrock used on conventional walls inside.
I'll try to squeeze a couple of questions in here. I know we got a lot of video too to get through for everybody, but let's see. One question is, how long does it take to build a dome? Which that's an easy one to answer for you, right, Dennis?
Sure, real easy. The dome shell will go up, a smaller or mid-sized dome shell will go up in a weekend or a long weekend, 2 or 3 days. The 46-foot diameter dome that was done, actually it was a 49-foot diameter dome that was done up in central Minnesota by 4 guys that were the carpentry crew, the contracting crew. They put the entire dome, the riser walls, the struts framework, and the exterior panels up, and they have no experience, never called down with some questions, worked off our construction manual that was put up in 4 days, Monday through Thursday. On Friday, they started working on the extensions.
Yeah.
So doing the whole dome, it's going to take you as long as it would in a conventional house, except that you gained, I don't know, probably 2 weeks to 4 weeks on putting up this structure, because a conventional house, it's a long time. Now we're talking custom built. We're not talking a modular house that you move in. We're not talking prefabricated sections. This is a stick-built house using prefabricated or pre-built materials.
Right. Okay. This next dome's in Minnesota as well. The 40-foot diameter, 3 frequency, low profile, which I think this might be one of the few we see on the tours. So this is kind of nice to be able to see this one.
Yeah, this was built.
Pretty neat dome. Just changed ownership not long ago.
It was built back in the 80s. A couple had built it, and Rich really did, the original builder on it, did the dome himself. He hired a neighbor kid to help him when he needed it, but he was basically doing everything, and a lot of the stuff inside, it was done by him. But the whole shell was put up. There's usually a dome raising going on. That was the case here. You have a dome raising where we actually invite customers to a site. You got friends, you got relatives. It draws a lot of people. So generally, yes, there is a very quick build on that. When I say 1 day to 2 days, how many people does it take? Well, like I said, if you have 6 or 7 or 8 people, then people are up on the scaffolding and people are down below. But if you just have 2 or 3 people, it could take you longer because you're running up and down that scaffolding. But it's rare that that would be the case. You've got friends and relatives that are going, what are you going to build? Let me go see. And yes, when they're standing around, you say, hand me that strut, hand me that panel. And before you know it, they're involved. Now, you're looking at a, what should we call this, an 80s kitchen. Kind of neat throwback, you know, to the 80s for the cabinet with the wood trim.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The new owners really like that aspect of it, that it still had that feel from the 80s and wasn't as modern, I guess.
Yep.
Like the kitchen wasn't as modern. They commented on that. One question, and I think they were referring to the struts, but I'll bring it up here because this has a permanent wood foundation. But one question was, how is the wood treated and are termites an issue? And again, I'm assuming they're talking about the strut system, but in this case, since it's a permanent wood foundation, I thought it'd be a good time to ask that.
We're dealing with a climate analysis when we look at the customer coming to us saying, I want a dome. Um, we look at the termite issue. If that's a problem, then we use treated lumber. And it's a matter of who that client is also. Borate treated materials are fairly benign, but if you're going underground with it, you need a heavier treated wood. And that's the case here where the lower level, it is a walkout, but it is treated lumber designed for foundation, below grade foundation. We don't really treat the struts. There have been a couple instances where we have done that because it's based on the climate zone. And we'll use treated struts and stainless steel bolts and nuts. And all of our system is, like I said, it's plated, or I should say epoxy coated. And then the hubs are Duranodic anodized.
On this one, they chose not to go with batten strips to cover the joints on the interior panels. They just put the 1x8s, or I guess in this case, probably 1x6s up tight against each other.
With cedar, you can do that. Cedar doesn't shrink. It's a fairly stable wood, so you don't see separation. Here, the stairway is an open stair, so it really feels much larger inside. It doesn't block your vision. We do a lot of that. You got to meet the stair code, which is a maximum 4 inches, and they've got that part of the code in the open space between the two treads. So you just have to add some blocking below it to get a 4-inch maximum spacing. This is the lower level. So it's a wood foundation wall, treated wood foundation wall with waterproofing on the outside of that. A brand name that we use is Grace Bituthane. So that's a really good waterproofing. It's an area that we have virtually no callbacks on. And if there's a callback on a treated wood foundation, it's because something was done wrong or the owner's wanting to put an extra window into it or change a door or something, and they wondered what to do and how to do it. It's very easy to remodel a treated wood foundation system.
Yeah. Yeah, they really won me over the years. I was kind of hesitant on the idea of it at first, but now I really like the idea of permanent wood foundation.
You're building a circle, so that also helps in the pressure that foundation can take. So it's not just a long flat wall that at the middle part's not supported properly.
You got kind of a unique window coming off their bedroom upstairs.
Sort of a chicken looking, a rooster looking dormer coming off, but it gives them the exit window upstairs.
I'll pause it here, Dennis, because actually I did have a question somebody had. Let me find it. The questions are piling up. Please address the problem of leaking roofs and skylights. So obviously there's been domes that have been built where, you know, they weren't, certain things maybe weren't done properly, or the skylights fell, resulting in a leak. So just what's the common problems, I guess, is mostly what they're asking with that question.
Sure. Let's just look at the skylights for a moment. Velux skylights for the operable areas, the operable windows that you want, operable skylights that you want, don't leak if properly installed. They've got an addition onto their system that we were using before they actually provided it with it. And there's a ice and water shield membrane that we use around our skylights, and Velux now uses it around their skylights. The Forest Dome, the first one you saw, has 19 triangles and trapezoid hexagon skylights. There was a leak in one, but it was because we were trying a two-piece flashing system. They don't leak. In Bear Creek, we've got a 9 triangle grouping over here. There's a kitchen window. There's 2 triangles in the main floor bedroom. There's 2 more triangles upstairs in the other bedroom. There's another triangle up in the bathroom area. They don't leak. You got to use the right installation. You got to deal with the right kind of roofing going around it. And that's where we look at the roof system that you got in front of you on the screen. Don't do this. Sorry to say that to the owner of the dome, but it's a problem by the roofer that did this, that said, oh, these are ridge joints, ridge caps that are used. I'll just put them on all the joints and solve the issue. No, that is sitting over the shingle and on the angles, the way they're angled off to the sides. You're going to have rain going behind that. And if you stop each row of shingles below that at the joint and cut it, and then you put another layer down below that in the triangle below it, there's a joint line underneath that ridge cap, and water can be introduced. The solution that the roofer comes back with, oh, I'll just put silicone along the edge of this upper edge of this ridge cap. It doesn't work. It may work for a while. It may work if you want to come back every couple of years. Silicone's really not compatible with asphalt. The asphalt products that they have, I don't know that I've seen any that are other than black. That's asphalt. So it is a situation where we have a roofing manual that comes with our construction manual. It is available to any roofer. It's a $30 download. If it's one of our domes, it's free. So we've got quite a few roofers that will download that section and give us a call and talk to us about roofing and detailing. We're going to have some video, now that we've got some new video equipment, we're going to have a video added onto the roofing section that is available as a download. I think these are original shingles, are they not?
Well, you can see the patch right there, where they kind of did it the right way, or the more recommended way above there where they replaced some of them. But I think the other ones are probably original. They are fairly brittle, so they're pretty old. So yeah, they're probably if it was built in the 80s, it's possible they could be the original shingles.
The outside of the Forest Dome that you saw was done in 1983. The roofing was done in 1983. At the time, we bought the shingle with the longest warranty, which were 35-year shingles. Well, it's 37 years now, they still look fine. That's what you want to do. You want to buy something that's got in this case, the shingles that we recommend, you want to buy something that's got a 50-year lifespan, and they will last 50 years. Some of the cheaper shingles, you do not want to use 3-tab shingles. They don't work. They don't work on domes. They're cheap. They're too cheap. You're going to be redoing it in a short period of time.
This is David's dome. As you can see, it's a 29-foot. One thing I didn't put on the title, though, is that it's actually based on the mini dome, which is, we have one on the complex, and I'm sure any of you have gone to our website may have seen photos of it. And we do have a little video on our website as well of the mini dome. But this one was essentially based on that concept with a different layout and a walkout basement. So I'll get this one going, Dennis, if you want to talk about it. And I didn't get any information on his solar field, but maybe that's something we can find out and try to get posted for anybody that's curious about it, because he's got a pretty good amount of panels there.
And I should mention, this is Buckminster Fuller's Fly's Eye Dome, it's what it's called, that he built. I don't have the story behind it. We got to get that. So
yeah, that's pretty interesting.
This is in Nebraska. There actually are hills in Nebraska.
A few anyway, huh?
This is a lower level walkout down below, and then there's a main floor and there's an upper floor. His master bedroom and bath are downstairs. So this is the main floor that you're looking at right here. Triangle skylight looking out from the living room area. A small center supported stairway. This is the dining room across from the living room. The main floor has about 400 square feet. The lower level matches that with another 400 square feet. There's a small stove over in the corner. That's more than what he needs for heat. Insulated flue pipe going out.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look at these photos, considering that it is one of the smallest domes that are available for a home, that you can really, it doesn't really look like it's that tight in there. Like I said, it's interesting where the geodesic domes feel a little more roomy inside per square foot, I think. So even in this case, you don't really feel too cramped. There's a couple spots maybe, but overall it feels pretty nice.
So this is sort of our answer to the tiny dome. There's 8-foot ceilings on the upper level. If this was a bedroom, the one we have here is a model prototype. We've got a queen size bed sitting up in the bedroom. You got 8-foot ceilings. David turned it into a office area upstairs. Kitchen area's got some nice cabinets, interesting rounded corner. He didn't put any cabinets on the outside wall, but he certainly has enough cabinets on the inside. Bathroom area is got full shower, sink, pedestal sink. It's not tiny, it's not so hard to use. Spiral stair, you can get some that meet code. This one is probably narrow. I'm not sure, that probably wouldn't meet the standard code, but we have designed a standard 6-foot diameter spiral stair in the mini dome as an excess. This is the downstairs walkout basement that you're looking at. That was the master bedroom. There's a spiral stair that come down to that part too. We're dealing with a bathroom area and a large closet area on that lower level, along with a utility room, storage room, mechanical room. The lower level is a slab on grade. I believe he's got radiant floor heating. Like I said, we don't have a lot of specs on this particular dome.
Yeah. Okay. We have a couple domes coming up next that we actually had on our last tour. But for those of you that weren't on our last tour, this will be the opportunity to see them. This one is Cathy and Ray's in South Dakota. And before I jump into this, I'll try to squeeze in another question, because I do want to try to get through all the domes for everybody. But one of them was, is there engineering information available to supply for building permit application?
The answer is yes. We have a structural building pamphlet certified by registered structural engineers in all 50 states of the US. We can provide that engineering pamphlet to engineers up in Canada. We can provide that to other engineers. They can look at that engineering and see how it's been analyzed. The dome like I said in the beginning, the dome will take a 100-pound snow load. I'm sorry, I don't have the metric equivalent, but the wind speed is, again, based on a minimum 150-mile-an-hour wind speed. So you may be required by your building inspector to have the entire structure analyzed by a registered structural engineer. We can provide that service. The drawings would then be given to the engineer. He's going to analyze footings, any basement or lower level or stem wall footings, walls, the force of the wind on the project. The riser walls are shear walls. In an earthquake zone, you're looking at interior rooms, how they're secured, variety of things that are dealt with in that engineered set of plans. That we can provide a stamped set of plans. It's called a wet stamp, where this actually each page is signed by the engineer.
Real quick, since this is a good dome for you to maybe work a couple of questions in as the video plays. And this, Cathy was nice enough to send us this video she shot for us. And because we had a question about, somebody wanted you to talk a little bit about the aluminum shingles. And another question was on fireproofing. Are your wood domes fireproof? So those might be a couple you want to see if you can incorporate along with this dome here and let it play.
These are Reinke aluminum shakes. They're called shakes because the components are relatively small. They're 9 inches, 10 inches wide. So the outside is aluminum. From the standpoint of fireproof, you've got to look at whether other structure outside is wood. Cathy has the outside of this done in stone from the region. She's in Custer. There's another dome that we have, a complex on San Diego, where we did an outside cement board along with a special material over that. The dome you see here in Custer, actually, Cathy has this set up as a rental property. So this will be a really nice dome for those of you that want to take a vacation in the Black Hills. It is just south of Custer. Believe me, it's gorgeous right there. There is another dome about 2 blocks north of that that was done in early 80s. And they have a footbridge that walks across to the Custer State Park. So you're right there. A lot of buffalo around. They have cattle guards on the roads. And I found myself taking pictures of that older dome, realizing that the buffalo had no barrier between them and I was a little more cautious. There's an upper level on her dome that has an interesting curved wall. The master bedroom, one of the rooms, I should say, is the master bedroom upstairs. Again, we're talking about the spruce paneling on the walls. So a lot of rock facing that she's used on the outside and the inside. Here's
this
some
is a
trees.
fairly new dome too, isn't it, Dennis?
The stringers for her, not the stringers, but the outside stringers for her stairway going to the cupola. And there you see this rock facing on the outside and the aluminum shakes. Is it fireproof? From the standpoint that you've taken care of the vegetation right next to the dome, yes, all the outside materials, except maybe the doors, which are wood, is a non-flammable material. So you have to look at the whole thing. The domes down that we did in San Diego there's 4 of them joined together. And they replaced an older dome that he had that burned to the ground. So the new ones are, if you can call them fireproof, that's fireproof. Cement board with a supercrete on the outside of it, nothing can burn. But it was also some design principles that are also used, both in the vegetation and the design of overhangs and non-venting of the dome so you don't get any embers sucked back up into the dome shell. So there's a variety of things that we do when we're talking about fireproofing. We are working with a couple of clients right now in California, and it's a big concern. And we can show you how to design and the materials that you're going to use, how to build it with those materials.
Okay. Let's see, one question, since this is a pretty well put together little video, and this was sent to us by Larry sent this to us actually. And this might be a good opportunity to talk, kind of a broad question, I
Next
guess.
dome in Texas.
Yeah, I got one question here was current and future options for the use of recyclable and biodegradable materials. I'll kind of let you maybe jump into that one during this video, Dennis.
Is anybody hearing me?
What's that? Am I muted? Okay.
Instead of waiting for a prompt from Derek, I know I can see what's on the screen.
Okay. Well, I'll let you talk about it and I'll jump in because
so let's look at my
audio is
something
okay.
Wrong with me. What?
Go ahead and just describe it.
All right. This particular dome is actually, it's for sale. It's in the hill country down in Texas, near Bolverde, between San Antonio and Austin. It's 2 levels. You're looking at a tall dome in the middle of this complex. It's a 40-foot diameter dome, but there's no so-called upper level on that 40-foot. There's a lower floor ground level, and then there's a main floor, which is 10 feet up above that. Quite large. There's a 40-foot dome, and then the other end domes are 30-foot domes with extremely long extensions between them. On those 2 floors, there's 8,000 square feet of space. The cabinetry that you see in all of these domes were done by Larry, by the owner. He has a cabinet shop on one side below the 30-foot dome and the connecting link with a drive-through garage so that you can drive a vehicle in, truck or whatever, pickup truck and trailer, and load it up and haul it away. The other side has the other 30-foot guest dome in it. His wife has a embroidery shop and does a variety of things, has a business operating out of that, again, with a drive-through 2-stall wide garage. So it was a little unique design, to say the least, that satisfied the whole thing. There you can see her embroidery business and shop, and here's the garage doors, which are roll-up doors. But like I said, there's a drive-through. So these connecting links have quite a bit of room there. I believe they're in the range of 20-foot, 15 to 20 foot wide. Spiral stairs are always interesting. You have to meet code, but a code stair at 6 feet is sometimes hard to walk up. So you design one that's 7 or 8 feet in diameter. They are comfortable. If you have other ways to get furniture up to the upper level, it helps because it's hard sometimes to get that up in a smaller stair. This is a gorgeous kitchen. It's just really nice to see that. That's an elevator panel, or room, I should say. It goes from the main floor down to the lower level. You're walking into this 30-foot diameter dome. This is still outside of the dome area where you've got a large multi-person shower, let's call it. It is in Texas, so you see a lot of Texas symbols and emblems. The bed is geared to a large Pentagon skylight for the view, So you can place that with a headboard on it to look out at the view area. Fireplace in there. So put your big screen TV on the wall. This is the 30-foot high profile dome. But it's the height that is being used in just the space inside.
Can you hear me now, Dennis, or is it still?
The shower, again, the cabinetry in one of the other areas for the guest area, basically a full kitchen.
Lots of woodwork in this
A
dome.
large Pentagon skylight above. Other outbuildings on the property for RV storage, workshops, storage facilities. There's some acreage involved in this also. I'm not quite sure how much. No one has told me that it's sold. I believe the price is in the range of 1,500,000, 1,600,000. There's a good outside shot and a nice forested grove. Again, Texas rock down below, around as a skirt. You can see the long connecting links between the 40-foot dome and the two 30-foot domes. The hill country in Texas is really interesting. Nice place.
All right, this is Carol and Larry's dome. This was also on our last dome tour. And then after this, we did just a little one at Bear Creek. We actually didn't
Dome in Amboy, Illinois, you're dealing with a 44-foot high profile dome. This actually is a 13.5 meter dome. So we've got about 1,350, 1,400 square feet on that main floor. They did a poured foundation system. So he's got some, what I'll call wing walls coming out from that walkout in the lower level. That's to hold the hill back that he built into and graded. They've yet to build the decks and the walks going around this dome. I think at this point he's built it, but when the photos were taken, it's about a year ago, I believe. That's a solar panel array, quite extensive. This is the garage dome that is a, I gotta look at that again. I believe it's a 40-foot diameter dome. I'm not sure if I remember that one right. There's a stairway on the side that goes down to the lower floor of the connecting link to the dome. There he's showing you a fire door between the two. So walking in from the garage, that's the kind of door that you want, something that's rated for fireproof. Bedrooms on the main floor. Master bedroom is on the main floor. This is a kitchen area in the dome. Again, you can design anything you want to in the floor plan. These walls are actually, I'll say, adjustable before you start building them. If you have a space and you go, gee, that's not quite what I thought it was going to be, you actually can look at it and say, what can I change? What can I move? Part of the main floor walls are holding up the second floor, but other parts of them are not. So yes, you could change your floor plan after you built your dome shell and you walk in and you say, well, gee, that room is too small, too big. Make some adjustments. We can help you with that in the planning process. Here again, you're seeing a grouping of windows down on the riser wall. That's for ventilation. The skylights above it are a nice big grouping of triangle skylights for looking at the view. Upstairs, there's an open area, sitting area. There's a cupola above with a conventional stairway going up to the cupola.
Is the volume turned off? Down? The volume? Can you see it?
Okay. Cupola is always a fun room. I like cupolas up on the dome, neat little areas. Kind of fun on a dome. You're able to pretty much, because you don't have the load bearing walls for the structure itself, you can kind of have a lot of freedom of design, and you can really
Just mentioned that you can't hear Derek.
basically do anything you want with the upper floor.
Yeah, I can't hear Derek. Yeah.
No. Sorry, Dennis. Yeah, it looks like we're having a technical problem, everybody. So I'll kind of talk because I can hear Dennis, but if he can't hear me, he starts talking, I'll let him take over. So,
He's talking.
I mean, I'm hoping the visuals speak most of the words, but this way, and this video again was sent to us by the customer. So again, we appreciate that. It really helps us out being able to share some of this with everybody. The video quality on this, I think from getting moved over, it looks like it got a little soft, but we're going to try to put cleaner versions of this on our website. Let's see here. One question I'll answer real quickly is a 1.74 acre lot big enough to build a dome? The answer is yes. Again, there's a lot of things that go into that answer, such as your building code, your building areas required setbacks, what size dome you're building. But like Dennis said earlier, even a regular city lot oftentimes is large enough for a dome. So but a 1.74 acres should definitely be fine.
My video on now?
Now you can hear me, Dennis?
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. Another one I'll jump in. Well, we're actually almost on time here, which is unusual for us. So maybe I should save these last few questions till the end for anybody that's on the timeline. But I'll let you take this one, Dennis, since this you know better than anybody.
This is the outside view of our Bear Creek Dome. In the beginning, there were no trees around this dome. The dome is 13 years old. In the 13 years, we planted trees. We've got a Christmas tree farm that we own here, so we don't sell Christmas trees anymore because they're now 50 to 60 feet high. Pine trees grow very fast. You see the rock facing on the wall, it's called a ledge rock. It's an imitation stone. It's actually cement. It's been colored. You can find that in many different colors, different styles. It works well on the inside. Again, the interior paneling here is our spruce. There's a large bank of triangle skylights. We decided to show you some winter shots.
Does that mean you're excited for winter, Dennis, or?
Yeah, well, part of it was because we have a 3-month calendar, and I just changed the 3-month calendar, and it goes through January 1st. So part of the snow load issue on the dome is that it doesn't stay on that lower part, the lower 45 degrees down below, especially at a 60-degree mark on it. There's no snow load against that panel. So it's the upper part. This was after one of the big snowstorms we had. You can see 12 to 18 inches of snow on top of the roof. This is the creek side view. You can see the pile of snow sitting on the table out on the deck. It's about 18 inches high. Inside, we wanted kind of a rustic, modern look. The pine on the wall that you see in the back on the main floor are from our pine trees. The trim that you see is the same thing. It's the pine that we used from pine trees on our property. So a little Christmas shot, showing you the fireplace. We got 3,200 square feet in the dome on 2 floors, about 2,100 square feet on the main floor, and another 1,100 square feet on the upper floor. I mentioned the stairway was in the extension outside the dome. One of our typical 12 feet to 16-foot high trees that we put in here. We find a candidate out in our forest and mark it and bring it in for the tree. So we have a live, real tree, not a fold up tinfoil tree. There you can see the reflection in the skylights from the fireplace. There's 9 fires going at the same time. So there's a
Okay,
lot.
Dennis, are you, hold on a second there. Okay. All right, Dennis, you got full screen.
Okay.
Let me hop out of here. You got full screen, and I thought we could answer some questions here for a little bit. As soon as I figure out how to. Okay.
You'll notice the flooring here, we did a concrete slab. This is radiant floor heated. And the radiant floor has panels, I shouldn't say panels, they're tubing that's embedded into the concrete. And here's a plan of that so you can see. So we designed a plan around it. There's 5 zones that we have here. And these 5 zones, each of the zones are about 300 lineal feet of tubing. And this one, Keith, we have a designer that we use. Keith designed that so that the 300 feet gave you the best usage from the standpoint of the water. It's a water-based system that goes out and goes back in. So we're dealing with something that is 1,500 lineal feet of tubing. It's heated with probably, he told me, 11 or 12 gallons of water. That's it. It recirculates. The heating bill that we have now, this is, like I said, up between zone 6 and zone 7. So we see 30 degrees every year below 0 Fahrenheit, which is about the same thing as centigrade. And the heating bill that we have, and we keep this a constant temperature. We don't change the temperature. We leave it at one setting. It's usually about 71 degrees on the thermometer. So our heating bill runs for the last 10 years, the average has been $530. And it's starting at, well, I have to admit, I started it here because we've had some really cool temperatures. So we've kind of warmed the slab up a little bit, but it starts in October and it ends kiddingly maybe in June. Actually, we usually go through the beginning of June and we still have some days when it could be heated. But in that time period, like I said, it stays the same. We don't turn it down when we go for the weekend. If we go to the cabin up north where it's colder, that's our vacation where we get colder. So
Maybe split system.
Kind of on that topic, Dennis, there was a question, does that Bear Creek fireplace also heat the upstairs, or are there other ducts into the space?
the radiant floor is what's heating both spaces. This is the first house I've lived in that's got a radiant floor. It's the same temperature on this floor at 5 feet as it is upstairs because I put some thermostats around. Temperature is the same. That 71 degrees happens to be a setting on the wall over here, kind of on an interior wall. The fireplace does have the top part of it over here. There's vents coming out. There's a blower in it. It will blow air into the master bedroom, which is over here. It will blow some air up into one of the bedrooms upstairs. And then it takes outside air. There's a duct that runs in from the outside over here into the fireplace chamber. We could use that for heating. We do in this kind of a season right now where I don't really want the slab to be totally heated. But as far as using it, we didn't design it that way. We could. Radiant floor heating is going to be all that you need. In a smaller house, it's very simple. It's very simple to install. You might have some contractors that don't know what they're doing. You need to have this done by a professional, design-wise. You need to design it so that it's going to maintain a certain temperature. The glass area is all figured into it. This is triple pane glass that we have both on the lower floor. I mean, the lower grouping of windows. These are Marvin windows. Those are triple pane. And then these are triple pane up here. So that's all part of that design of this. You can do other kinds of heating. You can do baseboard. You can do electric baseboard. We're running off of natural gas. We also have 14 kilowatt electric boiler that heats that water, the radiant floor water. That was installed first, and then the gas company came along our road and they were going into Wisconsin, and they said, do you want to hook up for free? Yeah, sure. Well, natural gas is cheaper now. It's about 25%, 30% cheaper than electric. So that $500, if it was electric, might be $700. But that's for the entire year. And it's for keeping that temperature the same. You don't want to lower your temperature in the evening. You got to warm the slab back up. There takes some energy to do that. So leave the slab at a constant temperature. The furnace, the boiler doesn't come on very often. It just maintains this temperature. It's very comfortable. One of the things that we did was not put any radiant floor coils underneath the bed in the master bedroom. So then the bed stays cooler underneath that section. The floor is insulated. We've got an area here in the center part. There's 16 square feet. We've got 5 different kinds of insulation underneath this system, underneath this floor. And what we found here with the test is that we put in 1 inch, 2 inch, and 4 inch insulation as a test. And there's 2 temperature probes under each of those areas that run to the computer, and it tells us that we should really have done 4 inches all the way across the whole floor. We did 2 inches. It's okay, but we could lower that heating bill even more had we put in 4 inches. Then after we did some domes in Denmark, we looked at their pictures they sent back, and they showed us these slabs, these thick 6 inch, 8 inch, I'm talking, you know, something that we can't get here, but they put that down as their base underneath their radiant floor system. So this is even better than we think from the standpoint of the cost to heat this thing.
Okay, kind of a somewhat related question to that is, somebody asked, are there additional studs 16 inch on center to support the wood ceilings or walls, or are they sturdy enough to span the triangle?
We use 3/4 inch plywood on the outside of our triangles. So the outside of this wall that you see, that's got no stud. Where did that come from? That has absolutely no studs framing in these triangles. That you're dealing with something that uses 3/4 plywood. It will span that whole entire triangle at 100 mile an hour, 150 mile an hour wind, and at 100 pound snow load. So we've eliminated a lot of material by using the technology that we have with plywood. We don't use 1/2-inch plywood. Yes, with 1/2-inch plywood, you would need studs every 16 or 24 inches on center, depending on what your snow load was. So it's something that, again, we started doing that back in 1980. 1979, we were using 3/4 inch plywood, not wafer board. Wafer board, to us, we do use it. It's our packing crate material. It's OSB board, called orientated strand board.
Okay. Is it easy to add a large, this kind of goes along with that, I guess. Is it easy to add a large skylight to an older dome built from 1983?
If it's one of our domes, yes, it is. Again, because we've got 3/4 plywood on there, and the strut framework is designed to carry the load. So we've done that a lot, where we come back into a dome and we say, where do you want a skylight? Where do you want it? Do you want here, there? We've talked about adding a skylight here above the kitchen. This large grouping that we have faces southeast. So yeah, where do you want your windows? If you decide that you can only afford so many skylights, then put in 3 skylights. And then 2, 3, 4 years down the line, you have some more money, because that's what your main thing is all about when you're building. What can you afford to build? So you come back and you give your spouse a Christmas present with 2 more skylights or something. If it's planned into the whole scheme of things, it can flow very easily, very nicely. It's not hard at all. We don't take out any structure when we do another skylight in here at all.
Okay. We got a couple more questions here, and anybody that's jumping off here towards the end, I just want to appreciate you for coming, and we're going to continue to try to produce some videos and show a different variety of domes. And if you guys have any domes you'd like to see size-wise or different styles that you haven't seen on this tour or the last one, just feel free to email us any of your requests, and we'll try to see if we can't, keep that in mind as we're trying to film some future domes. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody coming on. I still got a few questions for you, Dennis. I'm not signing off completely, but I just thought if a few people were trying to, had a commitment or something. But so another question I got for you is, instead of extensions which protrude out, what about doors and windows inset into to preserve the aerodynamic surface of the dome that present unwanted issues, or is there no real advantage?
There's really no advantage. You're going to be framing something, and if it's hard to frame coming to the inside, you may use a lot of lumber to do that. And lumber is a material that only has 1.25 R factor per inch, whereas your fiberglass insulation is 3 times that, and any foam insulation is 7 times that. I mean, it's that kind of a thing where we look at it. We do have one of the domes in Denmark. We do have our mini dome where we cut the dome down and created a conventional flat wall that you saw in David's plan earlier. But we do have the dome in Denmark where they actually took out a large segment and ran posts up to the hub points and connected them structurally with our connection hardware. So they basically indented 2 different areas and then created some overhangs for sun shading. So that was part of their design. So you can do it. A dome that was done on Backbone Mountain in Maryland, there we opened up one whole section of the triangles, removing entirely all the exterior panels and just left the struts. That was treated lumber, special stainless steel brackets and hardware, or stainless steel nuts and bolts. There's a floor that goes out. So it's an open balcony that overlooks this gorgeous 40-mile area up on top of Backbone Mountain. So it's just part of your design, whatever you want. But there's no aerodynamic wise, it's not going to improve anything really on the dome. If you want pure insulation. If you want a pure dome, you still have to get into it. So that's where we call it an extension, but it might just be a door opening or a window. Here in our master bedroom, the lower riser wall has the exit window. So we don't need an extension to create a conventional window that you put in to provide the exit window. So we do that in the riser wall. Just bring that riser wall up to 41 inches, basically 1 meter, and you're going to have enough space to qualify that window as an exit window. So that can be part of the design of it.
How about, I'll kind of combine these two. We got just a few left, so I'll combine a couple and I think we'll be wrapped up. What other options than shingles, or what other options than shingles with 1,000,000 nails? What other options other than shingles, I think, just to maybe avoid putting all the nails through everything? Or are there other options? And also, you know what, let me combine that. No, just that one. Sorry, Dennis.
You need to do the roof correctly. There's an underlayment that's going to give you waterproofing. There's a way that we overlap these shingles on the edges. We don't have this. We've got hundreds of domes out there. If you do it wrong, if you leave it to some roofer who says, oh yeah, I did a dome and well, one dome is all they did. We have a roofer here, and that's something that we've learned here with doing these videos. We videotaped Dan doing the dome school and realized this is something we need in the construction manual. So we are incorporating these videos and taking more of Dan actually this fall yet. We don't have winter till sometime in December, hopefully. But we will have the correct way to roof a dome with asphalt shingles. I mentioned the dome down in Cedar Falls or Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that went through that sustained wind. Not a shingle was lifted. Now, these are Malarkey Legacy shingles. It's a very particular brand that we're using. Alternates to doing shingles, you can do a rubberized roof coating, an elastomeric roofing system. It's going to take probably 7 coats done in very thin layers to get up to what you need to have, which is 20 to 30 mil thick coating on the outside. We don't recommend it in a rainy climate. We don't recommend it in a really cold climate that has rain, snow. You have to let each layer dry, and it gets confusing if you're looking at the weather and you need a long span of weather to let this material dry properly. So it's we've got domes down in Lyons. There's one in Lyons, Colorado. That's been there since the mid-'80s with the rubberized elastomeric roofing system. Works fine. It's a dry climate zone. Works great. The aluminum shakes, the Reinke aluminum shakes, that's another option. But we will tell you that they rely on the Grace Ultra, which is their material that Grace, actually called GCP. They've changed their name. But it is Ultra is rated at 300 degrees. So there's a right kind of underlayment that you have to use with the Reinke shakes and with the underlayment on the roofing. If you're doing foam insulation, you need to do a breathable underlayment on those shingles. You need to do one that's guaranteed. You need to do a brand name. Don't buy discount items. They're not the best. They're discounted for a particular reason. So spend the money on that roof. The dome is, 80%. Some of the designs are probably 90% roof. Spend the money and do it correctly.
Okay. I asked you this question earlier, but I think it's when we were having that audio connection problem. So I'll ask you again. But somebody was inquiring about current and future options for the use of recyclable and biodegradable materials.
There's the question that are asphalt shingles recyclable? I don't know. I've seen road systems that were created with recycled material. We don't know, given the fact that we should be recycling a lot more materials. Part of that question means that you've got a lifespan on that structure. The lifespan creates this deterioration period. Use the right materials, make this thing last. We're talking a 50-year life on the shingles. I've got the dome over there, Forest Dome, that's got 35-year shingles. It's now 37, like I said. Recycled, we got plywood, we have wood struts, we have steel parts that are recyclable. This entire dome can be recycled as far as the materials are concerned.
Ash and the concrete.
Yeah, the floor system that we have, this is cement, but it was 27% fly ash. That's the material that the scrubbers get off of the stovepipes. The chimneys in the burning, we have a regional Hennepin County incinerator that burns garbage and things, and they have to meet the EPA code, which they do, but they have fly ash coming off this as they scrub it. That's in the concrete. That actually strengthens the concrete. This concrete could be recycled. You can take concrete. We buy recycled concrete and recycled asphalt paving for our dirt driveway. We don't have a bituminous or asphalt driveway. We don't have a concrete driveway, but the class 5 gravel or the equivalent is a recycled material.
Okay. All right, a couple more come in here, but I'll combine these two because they're kind of a quick one, but not an easy one maybe. But can you build a dome in the city of Detroit? Was one question. And another one that's kind of similar is, do we have a list of approved contractors?
You can build our dome anywhere, except when you've got a developer who has a bunch of lots for sale that he wants you to build his house, and there's a homeowners association that he created, or they created, I shouldn't just blame he, that they created to limit the style of the house, the color of the house. You know, it's typically, we refer to it as Greigeville or Beigeville. They're all the same. That's where you can't build it. Building code wise, we exceed the building code. The building code here is just set up. We have, I think we're in the 60-pound snow load region on the borderline with 70 pounds. Well, we design our domes for a minimum 100-pound snow load. So that's why I'm saying, yes, you could build a dome in Detroit. We get a domes in South Minneapolis, in North Minneapolis. It's right in the city proper. We got several domes. So okay. No, anywhere.
And then the list of contractors, if you're in Minnesota, we can maybe help out. A few places we could get good feedback from people that have had good experiences, but I don't know if we have really a list per se. We just kind of, if somebody calls us, we check to see, you know, referrals in those areas. Or do you have a better answer for that, Dennis?
Well, we've created a Google map that we use. It's private. We don't want to give out the personal information, but we create a Google map. We've got 2,000 domes on that Google map. The majority of them are in the continental United States. So we can, where are you going to build? This area, we can look up, and all of them are not our domes. Probably anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 are our domes. So we have this list of domes, and that's where we take you. We'll give you an owner's name and a phone number if they wanted us to give it out, and 90-some% of them don't have a problem. or we'll call them and find out who did they use for a roofer. So yes, we have some roofers that have done domes, and we keep hearing about, yes, it worked. There's not a problem with them. So that's what we want to know.
They come to dome school too.
And we've had roofers come to dome school. You can send your roofer to one of our dome
No
schools,
contractor.
a contractor and roofer.
Yep, yep. Okay, another question on building is, can you fiberglass the exterior instead of using shingles?
Bill Woods, Dynadomes, he's passed away, but Dynadomes was a company back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think, down in Southwest US. That's what he did. He fiberglassed the domes. It's not really what you want to do. It is a rigid material. If you don't have a wide temperature range, you're not going to have any problems. But it's not what people normally use for a roof. If you want to experiment with something you could try, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. And then radiation from 5G antenna overload would be reaching would the recycling materials help that? Radiation from 5G antenna overload, would the recycling materials help that?
I'm sure you can create a barrier integrated into the dome shell system. If you wanted to talk about 5G, which is radiation outside that you're worried about, there's the inside electromagnetic field. Depends on what you want to do. We did in this house real quick. It's each bedroom has a switch. The wiring from the main panel went to that switch, which is simply a junction box, and you can turn off the power to that bedroom. So all the wall outlets, everything. It means you need a battery clock. Well, do you need a battery clock? You got a cell phone. There's your clock with an alarm on it. So that's our technology today. So we can turn off the power in that room so it's not going around or across the bed over your head. We didn't really mention in the beginning, my wife died from a brain tumor. Tessa's 11-year-old son died from a brain tumor. What caused it? We don't know, but we have the ability to do that. So it's all in what you believe. It's all in what you want to do to your particular dome, that yes, you can make these changes. Chemically sensitive, same thing. We deal with it all the time. I've got a customer that said certain kinds of wood are fine. So what are those? So the interior paneling that we did for her was a kind of wood that she's not allergic to.
Okay. How long is Natural Spaces Dome's typical production time from order to customer receiving kit?
Probably going to be 5 weeks to 6 weeks. That's how long it would take us to produce your dome. With the customization that we do, that's talking skylights, conventional windows, all of this stuff, the interior paneling comes to you in a 53-foot semi truck. There's been a couple of them where they're double domes. It may take a little longer just from that standpoint, but that's the time length. Does it take us all those hours to do that? No, but it's an order time, lead time on various materials. So we like to say that. If we get backed up, if we have a bunch of orders we're doing, it might be 6 to 8 weeks. That's about it.
Okay. As of now, this is our last question. So we'll see. We might get a late one popping in, but in regards to HVAC in the Southwest, do you use central heat and air or just radiant flooring? Basically, and they also just said, or just talk about HVAC in the Southwest.
You got a dry climate zone. So then you look at what you're going to use for the heating. You also, what's your heating degree days that you're building in? Phoenix, I'm not sure you would put in radiant floor heating. It's going to be not used enough, but it may be what you use just because you don't heat all the time.
Mini split.
Yeah, the mini split system, I had turned the camera, I was going to turn the camera around. If we can see the mini split system that we have, it's up on the wall. I got to lift this up. So there it is, way up high, way up there. So that's the mini split system that we have. It's an 18,000 BTU heating and air conditioning system with internal air. It doesn't take in outside air. The condenser, the fan coil unit is outside. We have another 9,000 BTU mini split that's in the bedroom. So this is the bedroom over here that we're talking about, the master bedroom. That has a pocket door and it's 54 inches wide. So we open that door, we turn that on, and that at times provides either a small amount of heat that we need to keep it warm or the air conditioning. Again, we're going to talk to you about 18-inch thick walls. There's a reason for it. We have a triple thermometer upstairs. It's in the airspace that we have between the insulation and the outside panel. In the middle of summer with the sun shining on it, it's 164 degrees. The insulation is 16 inches thick. Halfway through, it's 110 degrees. Inside, 74 degrees, which is the inside temperature of the house. So design your system, design your energy system for the climate zone that you're in. Do you really want forced air? Radiant floor heating is really nice. I will say that. Does it work well in all climates? You need an air-to-air exchanger. We also have that. We didn't really talk about it, but that's part of the design of the whole system.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dennis. I think that was the last one. So I appreciate everybody that came to our virtual dome school, and I appreciate everybody still kind of, as we continue to improve and learn how to, show you guys more of what we love to do. We really appreciate you continuing to attend. And thank you, Dennis, for your wealth of information as always, and Tessa. And well, I don't know, it's great. It's another opportunity to get some more domes out there for people to see. So, we can't wait till you guys can get back in them for real. But I hope that this helps some of you be able to visualize what it's like to be inside of a dome for those of you that haven't been able to be in one. Of course, just like looking at a picture of Grand Canyon, there's no substitute for being in them. So if you ever get the chance, you definitely should try to. But at least it's something to kind of help also give ideas for those of you that have been in domes. It's nice to see other domes and get some ideas on what people have done. So, but thank you, everybody. And I'll let you sign off, Dennis.
Yeah, thank everybody for showing up. We will entertain any questions and comments that you want afterwards. Just email us.
Preferably email rather than Facebook
Yeah,
messages or things like that, or call.
or call. We've got a lot of information. I've been doing this now for 48, going on 49 years. So.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.